right? Teenagers are going to do it no matter how clean. There's a lot of other issues
Staying
around
asleep.
that.
When you wake up,
Right?
and then
Teenagers
you
are
get
going
back
to do
to
it no
sleep.
matter how clean
So
we eat your
it's
remedies and
very
stuff. But I hear like organic, there's a lot of other issues.
internal things.
Staying asleep. Then when you wake up, and then being able to get back to sleep.
and I did get your question.
How is that?
So let me share my screen so everybody can see the slides. Welcome, everybody. I am Sandra Nardoni, and this is Break Free from Antibiotics, a homeopathic mindset for infections. And I am here with my friends and colleagues, Nicole and Heather. And I am especially thankful today for summer. Are you guys thankful for summer? Because I am. But I live in the cold nether regions of the world, it seems, in Indiana. So I love sunshine. So anyway, you are going to love what we have for you today. I promise. We are covering a ton of information in the next 75 to 90 minutes, and it's going to fly by. So grab a notepad, settle in, and prepare to feel empowered. And you might feel a little bit overwhelmed at times, but that overwhelm will quickly turn into energy when you realize what's possible. And I know it sounds strange to say that you'll be looking for people to be sick around you, but you're going to want to practice what you learn. And so one final thing, for those of you who stay until the end, we have a very special free gift for you to download, but you will only get that link in the chat of the Zoom. So we value your time, and we're going to keep this to 90 minutes or less. We won't keep you too long, but the great news is by the end, you'll have tools that will change how your family handles infections forever. So that's pretty exciting. One final thing, let's see here. And that's what I was just telling you about, the 10 remedies to own for infections. That's the free gift that we're going to give you guys. And so you definitely want to stay till the end so that you can get that, because we're only going to put that in the chat, and it's not going to be anywhere else. So just wanted to make sure you guys know that. Quick note, we are not doctors. This is not medical advice. It's education, and the relationship between us is of student and teachers. And so just keep that in mind while we're talking, that we are not doctors. Sometimes because homeopathy uses medicines, people can get a little confused about that, but we are not doctors and we're not prescribing anything. So we want to make sure that we say all of those things from the outset. So here are the three of us hanging out in a park in Ohio, and we've not gotten to be together in person very often, but whether we are together in the flesh or over Zoom, our heart is always to educate. And today you're going to get a taste of that kind of teaching that happens inside our Homeopathy Help Hotline membership, which we're going to be telling you about shortly. We are all certified practical homeopaths who graduated from the same school. We co-host a podcast called the Simple Hopeopathy Podcast. We serve clients and run a powerful membership community. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'll get started. I'll go first since I'm already talking, so that you get a feel for who we are and what we are each excited about. My name is Sandra Nardoni, as I've already said, and I am an educator, big time. Like, that's what I went to school to be, is a teacher. And I homeschooled for 16 years as well. I'm also very into adoption because 2 of my 3 children are adopted. I'm a mom, a wife, and a Mimi to who I think is the most adorable grandchild on the planet. I'm sure some of you probably have your own to argue with me about that. But I really love working with families. That is one of the best things that I think you can do, is work with families. So that's my shtick. So Nicole, tell us all a little bit more about you.
Hey guys, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nicole. I am a New Jersey homeschooling mom to 7 beautiful children, married to my best friend. I am a conventionally trained registered nurse, gone holistic nurse and nurse health coach, and then ultimately became a practical homeopath. And most of my journey started because I was dealing with chronic disease and suffering and a lot of ailments in my own family, and that's what led me here. So I'm so glad that you guys are joining us today, and I hope you guys learn a lot from us. So I'm gonna hand it over to my beautiful colleague, Heather.
Thanks, Nicole, and welcome again, everybody. So happy to see you all here today. My name's Heather Strickland, and I live in Northeast Ohio, not too far. I'm kind of in the middle of these two, right? And
Yeah.
so, anyway, so I have been a health coach for about 12 years now and found homeopathy through Nicole, actually. And it has been life-changing, not only for me and my family, but also for my clients. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to share this with you guys today, because of how much it has impacted my life. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather and Nicole. So we wanted to start with a quote that we hope will inspire you as much as it inspires us. And it says, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." And that is a C.S. Lewis quote. And I love this quote because it embodies the mission that we have to meet you where you are in your health journey and give you hope through homeopathy to change the end of your story if it started out a little bit rocky in the health department. So there is obviously a process to changing your story, and we would love to be a part of that. We don't know what your story is, but we do know you didn't come here by accident. Maybe you started out using regular products, trusting the system until something happened. Maybe you had a kid with a chronic rash, or you got a really devastating diagnosis, a gut feeling that something wasn't right. So you started asking questions about food or toxins or vaccines or antibiotics. And all three of us were in your shoes at one point as well. We had that niggling feeling that something wasn't right, but we weren't sure what it was. And then we started researching, learning what was in the products we were using in our families, and we got really nerdy. And eventually we became what Louise here that's with us today calls homeopathic wizards. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but it's a fun way to describe ourselves, and you know what I mean. So we have confidence that many of the day-to-day circumstances that arise for you are also able to be addressed at home, and that all of us still have the option to seek care if needed, but knowing homeopathy really changes the game. So maybe you are still new to this journey. Maybe you're already knee deep in natural health. Either way, you're in the right place, and we're really glad that you're with us today. So before diving in right away with information that will keep you interested and engaged with this topic of homeopathy, I just want to mention one more time for the new people that are coming in that we do have a little bribe for you to stay to the end. We have a cheat sheet about antibiotics that we are giving away. We'll be putting it in the chat at the end of the presentation. And like I said, we're going to try to keep it to 90 minutes or less, so you know what to expect. But with that, I'm going to hand things off to Heather, who's going to give you a brief overview of what we will be learning today.
Thanks, Sandra. So today, as you can see on the slide, we are going to be learning how practical homeopathy gives us choices. And that is one of the most beautiful things about this that we have all found is that, there's a time and a place for everything. And we love to be able to let you guys know that there are other options out there that maybe you've never even heard of. And also a little bit about how practical homeopathy, even if you've heard of homeopathy, practical homeopathy is a little bit different take on that. And it gives you that option between feeling like you must use an antibiotic and doing nothing, which is obviously as a parent, not really a choice. And we're also going to learn, you're going to hear multiple stories about real life situations where all of us have successfully used homeopathy in our own families and in our practices in place of antibiotics. And you're also going to see one of our favorite aspects of all of this, and that is the community that we are growing that is full of moms and grandmas and aunts and caregivers who are learning how to do this together and support one another and encourage one another. And again, when we went through APH together, well, Sandra and Nicole went through it together, but I was the year behind. And one of the things that we all say is that it was worth every penny if the only thing we got out of it was the community and our colleagues and friends that we grew in our study groups. If that was the only thing that we got, it was worth every penny. And we obviously got much more than that because we got an amazing education with practical homeopathy. But the friends and the people that you're going to learn and connect with are worth everything. So that is one of our favorite aspects of this. So now I'm going to let Nicole kick things off here with our first example of how she, with all of her 7 children, has been able to, she's going to share some examples of how she's been able to use homeopathy with those.
Thank you so much, Heather. And can I just echo before I move on that community has been the most beautiful blessing, I think, that all of us would agree with. And so we are so happy to share that with you guys today and really hope that you guys come join us in this beautiful community that we're growing here. So you might be brand new to homeopathy, you might be new to the holistic world. You might be new, to all of these things, but what most of you guys are probably not new to is many of you guys are probably moms or grandmoms here, right? Or caretakers of some sort. And one of the biggest things that I've found personally, having 7 children, like Heather said, is the middle of the night, illnesses that come on, right? And so while I was trained as a nurse and I was a mom of, multiple children, and I stepped into the holistic world, I still dealt with some uncertainty about things like fevers and ear infections and pink eye and strep throat and all those things. And sometimes we're put into a situation where, the child wakes up in the middle of the night and we don't know what to do because the doctor's office isn't open. And that would mean we have to run and whisk our children away to the hospital or, all those things. So, what if I told you that homeopathy can empower you to do something for your ill child in the middle of the night, right? So whether you are, choosing to follow up with the doctor in the morning or, even take them to the hospital if you feel like you need to, what if I told you that you had another choice that could help you along the way? So I'm going to go ahead and share on the next slide some of the things that I personally ran into, probably many of you guys have run into as mothers and grandmothers and caretakers. So, a lot of things that we deal with, again, like I said, are pink eye, ear infections, strep throat or sore throat, and all of those things. And again, in the holistic world or the crunchy world, we're told, that we could use natural remedies, but what if we wanted to use homeopathy? What if I told you that there was homeopathy that could help with these things? And what if I told you that I found personally that they actually work quicker than some of the conventional routes without the side effects and even some of the holistic modalities that I explored myself? So this first case here is my sweet little girl. She was about 3 years old at the time, and she woke up with a really bad case of pink eye. As you can tell from the pictures, her eyes were red and swollen. They were crusty. There was definitely drainage coming from both. They were itching. They were definitely painful. But being that I knew about homeopathy, I was able to give her my go-to, which is Heap-Bar Sulf. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Heap-Bar Sulf for you guys in just a moment. And then also because there was some redness and swelling in her eyes and the pain, I also used belladonna, which is another homeopathic remedy that I'm going to share a little bit about with you guys. But those were 2 remedies that I used for her, and within just 3 days, my friends, that picture on the right is what her eyes look like. So if we were to choose the antibiotic world, she would have been on, at least a week worth of antibiotics orally. I would have had to put drops in her eyes, all of these things. There's always a potential for side effects with any medication, including antibiotics. And so we were able to successfully avoid that and just use homeopathic remedies to heal up her pink eye. And boy, she loves those sugar pellets. So she definitely did not mind getting that as her treatment. But there are other things that we deal with as moms. So ear infections, right? Ear infections, I want to talk about ear infections just for a quick second here. They can be bacterial, but they can also be viral, right? So if you take your kid to the doctor and they look inside the ear and they see that there's an infection, right? They're going to prescribe antibiotics, right? Antibiotics are an antibacterial, right? So what if your child had a viral ear infection? Has anyone's child been tested for viral ear infection? No, we don't look for that. We just put them on antibiotics, right? So, one, we're making the assumption that it is indeed a bacterial infection. And two, we're putting them potentially at risk for having an allergic reaction. So again, what if I told you that there was homeopathic remedies that can address ear infections, whether they are viral, bacterial, or whether your child is just experiencing ear pain and it's not even necessarily an infection, we don't even really need to know. Guess what? Keep Ourself again is a really great remedy that can help with all of those things with because it's an organ specific remedy. It can help with the ear, it can help with the pain, it can help with the inflammation, and it can help if there is infection. So I have just a quick story on my son who um, he came downstairs and he said, Mom, my ear really hurts. And I have an otoscope home. I looked inside of his ear. It did look, red and inflamed, didn't really look infected. And I just gave him a dose of Heap Sulf and he went upstairs. He comes back downstairs and his ear was bright red. It was inflamed. It was hurting him. And I said, honey, were you laying on your ear? And he said, no, it's just red. And I said, you know what? I know what to use. Belladonna. Belladonna is a great remedy for hot, red, and painful. So, um, I gave him one dose of belladonna. He went upstairs. He went to sleep that night. Didn't complain anymore of his ear. He woke up the next day and he was completely fine. So that helped me avoid a potentially unnecessary doctor's visit and unnecessary round of antibiotics that maybe he could have had an allergic reaction to. So that is just a little bit about pink eye and ear infections. But I do want to just kind of quickly mention before I wrap my portion of this up is that the remedies that I mentioned, Hebarsulf and Belladonna, Hebarsulf especially, is great for not only pink eye and ear infections, but it can also help with sore throats or even strep throat, bacterial skin infections, dental abscesses. So any soft tissue infections, Hebarsulf is your friend. And I always tell people to own it in a 6C, a 30C, and a 200C. So that is definitely something you're going to want to have in your toolkit as you learn about these remedies. And then again, belladonna in homeopathic form is another great remedy that can help with all of these conditions. So I just
And
want
I,
to,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I
I was
was
just going to
going to say,
say,
go ahead.
yeah, it pulls all the uncertainty and fear out of it when you know what to do. Like that's the beautiful thing about your stories is that you're like, oh, okay, middle of the night call, middle of the night kid upset, you know what to do with that homeopathically. You know they're not going to be reacting to it. It's a really beautiful way to deal with things. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was feeling that way with my mom. Because even though we have like you were talking about your kids, I'm at the age where I've got a grandchild and then I'm also moving into a stage where we're probably going to be caring more and more for our parents as they age, and that can be really scary.
Mhm.
And so this is my mom. She's 75 years old when this picture was taken. And she was 76 in the story I'm about to tell you that happened. And she is generally not big on doctors. Like, she's not one of those people that runs to the doctor all the time. She's the oldest in her family. She has 4 siblings, and she's the healthiest, and she's the one that goes to the doctor the least. So I think there's a correlation. But sometimes things happen that require a diagnosis or a trip to the ER. And in those moments, our parents interact with doctors who often, with good intentions, they kind of scare them into getting on antibiotics or getting vaccinations or going through with procedures that they may be necessary or they may not. And that's exactly what happened while I was on a cruise with my friend Mary. The night I returned home, I got this frantic call from my brother, and he was upset because my mom had been scared into getting on an antibiotic, one which had caused reactions for her in the past. And it was because of an eye infection that had become quite severe. And he was worried about her because she had gotten on this antibiotic, taken 2 doses of it, and her blood pressure had shot way up. So that's the only real health issue she has, is blood pressure. She does have diabetes, but we're controlling it completely with homeopathy. So the medicines that she's on that are not homeopathic are all blood pressure. And she's been on those since her 40s. Ironically, at the time, we didn't know this, but it started happening after an antibiotic. And people think the antibiotics are very benign and that they're pretty much like only good. But my mom has had 2 major side effects from antibiotics. One is that she's lost her hearing gradually. It seems like every time she's on an antibiotic, it gets worse, starting again in her 40s. And then her blood pressure has just been awful, and it gets worse, when she's on antibiotics. So my brother was really worried because the doctor had scared her into going. She was basically wanting him to drive her to the hospital so that she could get on IV antibiotics, because her doctor told her that this could turn into an infection that would go to her brain. Now, I want to clarify something. I'm not saying that that wasn't true. It could have. Like, it was serious. You can see in this picture, it's a serious infection. So it's not that that it wasn't serious enough to go to her brain. It's just that we're still faced with that choice of do something that we know, for her especially, historically almost always causes a reaction that could be worse than what you're dealing with, or do nothing. Like, those are the only 2 options usually. And that's why we are just so thrilled to teach people about homeopathy, because it gives you another choice. It gives you a real choice that doesn't come with all the side effects. So my mom was ready to go to the hospital. My brother called me. I was like, okay, I'm coming over. So I came over, and basically I said, Mom, give me 2 hours. If you give me 2 hours and there's been no improvement with your eye, then I will drive you to the hospital myself. And that's another really cool thing about homeopathy that sometimes people don't think about, because it can be used in conjunction with other types of medicine with no interaction. You could literally give your loved one homeopathy on the way to the hospital, and then sit in the parking lot of the ER to see if it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, you're right there and you can just walk right into the ER, because that medicine is not going to impact any treatment that they give your loved one. And so that's an amazing thing. So that's basically what I told her. I was like, we'll go to the ER, we'll sit there, whatever you want to do. And she agreed. So that first picture is when I first got there. She couldn't open her eye. It was all swollen shut. And she had had the 2 doses of antibiotics on Wednesday. Then she hadn't done anything on Thursday, just kind of hoping that maybe it would go away. And now it's Friday. I've come home from my cruise to this catastrophe that's happening. And she's agreed to let me help her. So I took that picture when I got there. I gave her she knew that there were probably homeopathic things that could help, but she didn't necessarily have the kind of medicine cabinet that I have. And this is my mom, of course. So I'm going to help her any way I can. It's different than when it's a client. So I brought stuff over, and I suggested that she take Heparsulf, which we've just heard about, right? Hypericum, and Apis. Those were the three main ones that we ended up giving her. They are amazing for these types of issues. Apis is an amazing one for anything, any kind of swelling in the face, especially, but really all over the body. It's great for reactions in general. But as you can see in the second picture, she gave me my 2 hours. I don't even think we needed the 2 hours because I'm pretty sure I took that picture an hour later. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to say 2 hours later, I took that picture. And as you can see, the swelling has already gone down and she can now open her eye. So it was about 25% down. So we ended up just not having to go to the hospital. And I actually was able, oh, I forgot about this. I forgot to take this video out. It automatically plays. I apologize. That is from a post that I made. And I'll just wait and let it finish. There we go. That was from a post I made about this because I was so excited about how it had worked. So 7 days after starting, this is the way her eye looked. And I took that picture in a parking lot because I saw her and was excited to have that opportunity to take that picture. I saw her in the Walmart parking lot. So that also means that her eye had gotten better enough where she was driving around. She wasn't having to, stop her life over it. And actually about 10 days later, it was completely gone. So it was amazing. Like I said, we used Hypericum, Heparsulf. I think I used antimonium crude in the beginning as well. And the first few days, she was taking them like every 4 hours. And then even through the night, because it was such a serious infection. And then on day 3, she backed off to twice daily and she kept that up for like a couple of weeks. So it was just amazing how this worked to get rid of this, what could have been a very serious infection. So we as parents and caregivers, we often face moments where we question whether we should rush to urgent care or get antibiotics from the pediatrician or grab over-the-counter meds from the drugstore, or maybe use a home remedy that oftentimes works. But if it doesn't, then you're stuck. You're back to that emergency room or nothing kind of choice. And sometimes we wonder, like, should we just go ahead and give in and do an antibiotic? Because if the infection is a serious one, many times the answer from the conventional world is take this or do nothing. And so we're here to tell you that you absolutely have choices. And with homeopathy, the choices for infection really are seemingly endless, though there are a handful of tried and true medicines that come through nearly every time. I think you've probably gotten the clue about that because we've now talked about Heparsulf multiple times during this because it can be used for so many different infection situations, which is really cool. But Nicole, talk to us about panic.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there. All right. So panic, right? What do we do when we panic, right? Do we make silly choices? Raise your hand if you've done that. I definitely have. So when we have fear and we have panic, we tend to make choices that we maybe wouldn't have made had we not had that fear. And the thing that can really help you out of that fear is education, right? So we want to just kind of, share this information with you guys so that you feel empowered enough to use this information so that you don't panic, right? Like I said in the beginning, in the middle of the night when your baby is spiking a fever and they're tugging at their ear and they're crying, of course we're going to panic. Of course we're going to have fear, right? So if you educate yourself and you empower yourself right now, then when those things happen, when those emergencies happen or the acute illnesses happen, then you will be less likely to panic and you'll feel more empowered to be able to do something that may not cause side effects, um, that is different than the conventional methods and even, again, the holistic method. So again, we talked a lot about, making the choice of, take the conventional route or do nothing, right? And if you do the nothing, it causes that fear and that panic. So when you empower yourself with the knowledge of education, you're removing that panic and fear, and you're preparing yourself to be able to do the other thing, which is the choice that they don't give you. So a lot of people don't know what homeopathy is. Maybe you guys have heard of arnica for bumps and bruises, or, Highlands teething tablets for your teething babies. But as we're showing you guys today, homeopathy is so much more than that, right? And it goes deeper than what we're even covering here today. So that's why we're trying to get the word out to you guys to let you know that there is a solution other than do this or do nothing, and it removes that panic button for you.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that there's another choice. And so that's why this is such an important thing to be telling people about. And a lot of people ask the question if homeopathy can help with the more serious stuff. I think my mom's situation was probably pretty serious, but I don't know. Like it's an eye infection. Maybe it would have been more serious. But I think one thing that everybody kind of agrees with as far as like what can turn into something that is really a bad situation is a UTI. So we're going to talk about urinary tract infections. This is going to be sort of the more serious case that we talk about today. This is my daughter Billy. She actually got a UTI her senior year. So this is one of her senior pictures. That was painful and a little bit scary because it came on really quickly. And she was in a lot of pain. It was burning. She had a fever. And I did not know about homeopathy the first time she got a UTI. And I felt like my only choice, though I knew that they weren't all that great to do, was antibiotics. She also is very sensitive to things. And so I knew that we were running a risk of her reacting. But again, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I tried a few natural things like some oil stuff, and I made her eat garlic. And like I looked up some of the more natural things. She was drinking cranberry juice, which did help, but it wasn't getting rid of it. So finally, after a week and her spiking a fever several times, I was like, okay, we're gonna have to resort to antibiotics. So she took the antibiotics and she had a reaction like I thought she might to the first two that she took, which was hives. The third one ended up upsetting her stomach, but we pushed through to get rid of the infection. So I was like, honey, if you can just deal with the stomach ache, at least it's not hives, it's not life threatening. Let's just push through and get rid of this thing for you. And unfortunately, this started a cycle of UTIs that reoccurred at about every 2 months. And that's another thing that people often don't realize about antibiotics or even other allopathic medicines is that they're not actually working at a healing level. They're suppressing your own immune system so that it kind of like goes off and takes a nap and it takes over for your immune system. And so, guess what happens when that antibiotic is no longer in your system? Your immune system kind of comes to a groggy, state of wakefulness and isn't really doing its job like it should. And so it can actually turn into a chronic thing, which is what happened with my daughter Billy. That is until homeopathy. One of the first things I did after learning about homeopathy was to tackle Billy's UTIs. And the first time that we did this was amazing. We used cantharis and metarhinum to get rid of the infection. And I was totally blown away. No side effects. The symptoms were resolved in just a few days. And she ended up only having one more UTI after that. It was about 6 months later and not as severe. And she hasn't had one in several years now. So the power of homeopathy never ceases to amaze me. But you may still have some questions like, what the heck is homeopathy? So we're kind of talking about it in these surface terms, and in a way, we're telling you that it's medicine, and we're giving you these weird long names of things that you probably don't recognize. But a lot of people that first hear about it are like, well, what the heck is it? So Heather is going to give you an overview of what homeopathy actually is, this amazing choice that you didn't know you had. Heather?
All right. So, like Sandra said, we have been tossing around a bunch of Latin names that you might not be familiar with. And you're probably thinking, what in the world? I can't even pronounce these, let alone like, how do I find them and spell them and all of that? But we're going to back up a little bit and just go back to kind of where all of this began, right? So, homeopathy is its own complete system of medicine. It's not just another holistic modality. It is natural, but it's not lumped in with like the essential oils and the supplements and the garlic and the all of those things, right? It's its own standalone system of medicine. And it was developed by a medical doctor named Dr. Samuel Hahnemann back in the late 1700s. And shockingly, he was not super thrilled with how the medical system operated during that time. I don't know if anyone can relate to that these days. So he actually stopped being a medical doctor for a while. Excuse me one second. And he was able to support his family by translating medical texts. And one of them that he was translating really piqued his interest. And it was about another doctor who was talking about how he was using this tea to help treat people who had malaria. And the name of the tea, it was made from cinchona bark. And so the doctor that he was reading about was like, oh, it's because of the bitter astringent qualities of this tea, and that's what's healing these people, like, and helping them with their malaria. And he's like, well, that kind of doesn't make sense. And so he, using the scientific method and all of his brain, he was able to kind of come up with these other ideas, and he actually started experimenting on himself and then also experimented on his family. And through a course of doing that, he ended up developing this whole system that really spread pretty quickly. And a lot of other doctors picked up on this through the years. It actually spread to most other countries in the world because it's inexpensive, because it actually heals people, and because it's like the medicine of the people is kind of what we like to call it. Even here in America, we had homeopathic hospitals, we had homeopathic medical schools where they were medical doctors, but they learned homeopathy. That was what they used to treat people. We had mental institutions that were using homeopathy to help people with mental conditions, which I would so love to see be a thing again. And they used homeopathy exclusively in a lot of these hospitals. And so in the 1940s and 50s, when like Rockefeller medicine was really they were kind of pushing things out. There was a whole lot of things that got pushed out natural wise in that time period. But homeopathy was kind of squashed and pushed to the side in the United States. And that's why a lot of people today have not even heard of it. You know, when I first, when I was first learning about homeopathy, um, when I saw the word, I was like, oh, it must mean like home remedies. Like you're going to make up these natural, and I love doing that. I love making balms and stuff. So we're, making these home remedies, and that's so not what it is. So it is making a comeback here in the United States. And I think largely because of the efforts of our mentor and teacher, because of practical homeopathy. And we are, part of that mission to spread this. And it is, again, like I said, a system of medicine. And the remedies that we are talking about and that what we use, they are not made at home. They are made in FDA regulated pharmacies, and in other countries, they're regulated by their equivalents of that. And they also follow very strict homeopathic guidelines as far as how they are made and potentized and all of the things. So it is something that you can trust, that when you open a bottle of arnica, it's going to be arnica and you know what you're getting. So we are just really excited to share this with you because it's not something new. It's been used and proven over and over through the years. And again, in many other countries, homeopathy never went away like it did here. So we're going to transition then into just kind of talking about just kind of recapping some of the things that we've already gone over tonight. So homeopathy is giving you that other option to consider for all of these common illnesses and infections that we've been talking about. We love that. That is one of the big things that we've been excited to share, is because we love to share those other options with you, and it gives you the chance to address a lot of these common and minor ailments at home. And again, as we've all said, you always have the option to seek other treatment, to seek additional help. But how amazing is it that you can start this at home and, not have to drag your sick child out in the middle of the night? You can at least start doing something at home. And it allows you, again, to start that healing process right then and not have to wait for an appointment. Maybe you can't get an appointment with your pediatrician until a day or two later sometimes. They don't always have those emergency appointments available. And it's really what it's doing too, is empowering you as the mom, as the grandma, as the caregiver, to put that power back into your hands to make health decisions for your family, and gaining this knowledge and then being able to use it in your own home, with your kids, with your husband, the rest of your family, and even your pets. We have so many people in our community who use this on their pets with amazing results. And we did a whole podcast on that, like talking about all the amazing ways that we can use homeopathy with our furry friends as well. So that to us is also one of the ways that we are changing our healthcare system, right? It's not going to happen from the top down. We're starting it at the ground level and moving up. And as far as putting this information into as many people's hands as we can, and allowing them to then become the healers in their home, and giving them that knowledge to feel the confidence to do that. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Sandra, and she's going to share a few testimonials by some of our clients and students.
So, I know we can say that this is amazing medicine, and we teach how to use it. So, it might help you guys to hear what some of our clients and students have to say about homeopathy. So we'll start with Erin S. She says, last summer I was bitten by a neighbor's dog and it broke the skin. After cleaning the wound with calendula, I used ledum for the bite to prevent infection and arnica for the pain and bruising. It was completely healed in less than a week, and in a few more days, the bruising was cleared. So thankful I didn't need to make a trip to the urgent care on top of an already stressful evening. So that's a really great example of something that can be super stressful when you get bit by an animal. And you will learn in a lot of our different classes that we teach that ledum is an amazing medicine that takes the fear out of being bitten by an animal. It does a lot of things and prevents a lot of things. So that's a student that has learned well from what we've been teaching. And then Carol D says, thanks to you, I now use homeopathy for all diagnoses and symptoms. There is nothing better. So those are some really good ones that are more general. And then we have a few about replacing antibiotics. So Christine K says, I've been able to help my dog with an infection in his leg that would have cost me hundreds of dollars at the vet, and who knows how many rounds of antibiotics. Thank you. I love that because it really points out the truth about homeopathy is more than just about getting better. It's also about saving money. Like if you can stop an infection from spreading, in an animal, you're definitely saving hundreds. If you can stop an infection from spreading in a person, you're probably going to be saving thousands of dollars. So that's a really important point. Mary G says, the last couple of years, I've had to have several dental extractions done, and each time I've had very fast healing, minimal pain, or even discomfort afterwards. Using hypericum and arnica, as well as rinsing with calendula, has helped my mouth heal up very quickly with no infection issues at all and no antibiotics necessary. And I don't know who Mary is. She's one of somebody else's clients, I think, but that is something I've had personal experience with as well. And then Michael G says, I was diagnosed with pneumonia and I was really sick. I had the antibiotics ready in case the homeopathy didn't work, and I was skeptical that it would. But after just 3 days, my symptoms were all but gone. I was out of bed and doing my thing. I was amazed. So obviously, Michael was working with one of us. So we were helping him in that situation. but pneumonia is a pretty serious deal, right? So if you know a homeopath and you can work with a homeopath, those are the kinds of things that you can deal with using homeopathy. So one of the most important things about all of this is that it's a community, and learning is so much easier and more fun when you're doing it together. So when you have a group of moms and caregivers that you can hang out with and ask questions with and share experiences with and support one another, it just makes everything so much easier. It's just amazing. So, Heather, would you like to talk about the last testimonial that we have about our homeopathy help hotline?
Yes. So this is from Christina, and she is in our membership. We love Christina. And she says homeopathy is amazing. A healthy person can have many dreams, but a sick person has only one dream, which is good health. What I've learned from the Joette Calabrese classes you teach and the Simple Hopeopathy membership have been life-changing for my family and I. We are getting older, but we are getting healthier as we use homeopathy to uproot conditions that have bothered us for years. Without the weight of being constantly sick, we are now working towards our dreams that were once out of reach. So thank you. And that one, I love that so much. And I'm so happy for Christina. She's made such amazing progress, and both her and her family have seen a lot of really great wins with that. And then Olivia, who is another one of our homeopathy help hotline people, she says it's well worth the money. Great gals and great conversations. We meet 3 times a month with our members, and Olivia is almost always there, and she's been a great part of this. And it's so fun. That's one of our favorite parts of this, is to be able to meet and hang out live with people and answer questions and learn together. So
Yeah, definitely. So I'd like to just have a shout out right here before I even start with these other slides to Louise, who is also one of our members and is at almost every call. And I love her sweet smiling face. And I just want to say thank you for all of your support, Louise, because you are awesome. So what does the membership include? We're going to go through this and I'm going to tell you each thing and then just kind of do a recap after each thing, because being a teacher, I know that you almost always have to hear something 5 to 7 times before it sinks in. And I want you to know all the things that are included. And I didn't even list all the things because I didn't want to be here forever, but I listed the top things that are part of the membership. So first of all, members only videos that are not published anywhere else. So we have trainings that we have on there that don't live anywhere else. They're only in the membership. And that's a huge deal. We also have our biweekly Q&A sessions, also known as the Pick Our Brain sessions. Sometimes it's more like bi-monthly. So if there's 5 weeks, we still only do it twice. I just want to prepare you for that. but it's really fun. It's a great time where you can actually send your questions in ahead of time about homeopathy, especially about acute issues. So what this does is it gives you a chance to talk to us about stuff that might be happening in your family right then. And then if nobody has anything going on right then, we just have a great conversation about homeopathy and we hang out, and it's great. So it's a really fun time. And we also have the monthly chronic coaching corner sessions. So our chronic coaching corner is a once monthly meeting where we go through something that is a chronic issue or an umbrella of chronic issues, so that you guys can learn a little bit more about how to deal with something that maybe has been going on for a long time with you that you want to deal with so we don't take cases, but it's still sort of like under the supervision of 3 homeopaths. So that way, if there is something that you're wondering about, am I doing this right? Am I taking this often enough? Am I taking it too often? What do you think about this? We can kind of advise and educate you about what it is that you're trying to conquer from a chronic perspective. Because honestly, a lot of times people are learning things from us and others, and they start to tackle something that is a chronic issue. They might even have a lot of success in the beginning, but then they kind of get stuck. And it's nice to have that, knowledgeable guide that can help you go through whatever it is that you're trying to tackle and not be by yourself in that. Of course, the community of people, as they learn, they get better and better at giving suggestions themselves, which is also really fun. So we also have homeopathy cheat sheets. You guys are going to get a great example of that here in a minute when we put the link to our antibiotic cheat sheet in the chat for you to download for free. But these cheat sheets are designed to like hang on your fridge or like give to your husbands or your significant other or your children if you live with your kids or whatever, so that you have a just a nice concise way of dealing with acute issues in particular, that you aren't the only one in the family maybe that knows how to do this. So there's been more than one time when I've actually sent my husband to the refrigerator and said, get that cheat sheet off the fridge. And this is what I need. And so that way he can start to be able to know what to do too, because we shouldn't be the only people in our family that knows how to do it. But a lot of times all this knowledge starts living in our head and we need to share it somehow. So this helps you to share it. We also have live member workshops. And you might wonder, what's the difference between a members only video and a live member workshop? Well, let me tell you. So the members only videos are typically a little bit shorter. So some of them are as short as 5 minutes and maybe up to, like 45 minutes, but they're not like a super deep dive, a lot of them. But these live member workshops are a deep dive into one specific topic. So right now, we have several that are in the works that we've planned out that we're going to be recording in the next few months. But the one that lives there right now is the one we did on immunizations. So you can just dive really deeply into, how to deal with a certain topic. And you get a lot deeper than just like a 15-minute or a 45-minute video. And typically they're going to be like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And it's just a really nice way to dive deep into one particular topic that people have a lot of questions about. And finally, we have the homeopathy hotline private community. This is an off Facebook private community that's hosted with our software. And you can get on there and ask questions so that like in between live sessions, the concept is that in between our live sessions, you can be asking questions and it won't even just be us that's answering them. So I have, we're we're a small team of 3 people and we also have clients and we have kids and grandkids. So it may be a few days before we jump on, but what I'm really starting to see in there is that other members are answering questions, which is exactly what we want. We want people to be learning and sharing what they've learned. And the great thing about homeopathy is that if you don't quite get it right, it's not the end of the world because no one's going to get hurt, which is really, really nice. So you can kind of, you can give each other advice and talk through things, even if we're not there, because, you're not going to present a whole case in a comment, or a post. So these are usually things that are a little bit easier to deal with. And if they're not, everybody's just like, wow, that's like a case. You should actually get an appointment with, with the homeopath. And we've had to say that before, but that's okay too. So just the recap, it's members only videos, bi-monthly Q&A sessions, monthly chronic corner sessions, homeopathy cheat sheets, live member workshops, recorded ABCs of homeopathy videos, which actually I totally skipped. I must have skipped that slide somehow. But our ABCs of homeopathy videos are kind of like little miniature. If you guys, some of you may know what a materia medica is. It's a book that has like a list of medicines with their symptoms that they could help to solve. And these ABCs of homeopathy videos, we actually go into just one medicine and we talk about the different things it could help with. And we do those live for our Facebook group. But if you don't make it, then the recordings live in the membership. So if you're in our Facebook group, yeah, you can watch them live, but we don't have any interaction during those because we need to be kind of like down and dirty in order to be able to do them as frequently as we do. And those ABCs of homeopathy videos live in the membership. And so then, of course, we also have the homeopathy help hotline private community. So this is a way that you guys can equip yourself with knowledge and support. You can be a part of a growing community of moms, grandmas, caregivers who are really embracing this system of medicine, and who are learning and growing and supporting each other. And really, they're changing their families and friends' health forever and for the better, which is amazing. So the really cool thing about getting in on this right now is that we are having a July special. We're having a Health Freedom Month. And so now catch this. Monthly, it's $17.76. Okay? So just in case you aren't aware of history, 1776 was the year that the Declaration of Independence was signed. And so we thought it would be an amazing and extremely inexpensive price to charge $17.76 per month for the membership. And then you get an additional discount if you do an annual membership. It's $199 a year. And what happens is if you lock in this pricing, this is what you pay for the rest of time, unless you cancel. So unless you cancel, you're going to pay $17.76 per month forever, or $199 per year forever. And then we do have a free bonus. So we're going to give you an antibiotic cheat sheet today in the chat. But inside the membership, we have an extra page that we've attached to that antibiotic cheat sheet that goes a little deeper into some more, some different medicines that are maybe not quite as well known. So that's a bonus that you get for being a part of the membership. So in order to get into that, you're going to go to simplehopeapathywellness.com/membership. And this sale is going on through the month of July. So you want to go in there and get that going so that you can take advantage of it. So again, I don't know why I have this recap again, but we already went through all of this. Members only videos, bi-monthly Q&A, monthly chronic corner, homeopathy cheat sheets, live member workshops, recorded ABCs of homeopathy videos, and the homeopathy help hotline private community. And now the thing that everyone's been waiting for, we're going to show you the remedies that we talked about today. So I would suggest, if you are sitting there going, okay, I don't even know what these words are, just go ahead and take a screenshot of this slide so that you have it for later. But the really good thing is, I believe every single one of these is on the cheat sheet that we're about to put into the chat. So would one of you go ahead and put that in the chat, since I can't see the chat? It's simplehopeapathy.com/antibiotic-cheat. So if you would, and it's in our notes for the slides, if you want to just copy and paste that and put it into the chat so that everyone can go there and get signed up for that and get their download. And when you sign up for our, I can't talk. When you go there to get the download, you will also occasionally get educational emails from us. So that's another bonus of getting that accomplished. So now we are going to open this up for questions. And I am actually going to stop sharing so I can see everybody's faces and see the chat and all that kind of stuff. All right.
Okay, ladies.
Okay, well, I guess that's a wrap. And we did this in an hour. That is a record for us, I think. All right. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
Mhm.
Bye,
All right.
everyone. Thanks
Bye-bye.
for joining us.